Welcome to Real Estate and Murder, a podcast about real estate and murder.
I am Amy Brockbank.
And I am Sarah Brager. We are both licensed real estate agents in the state of Utah who have a common fascination with true crime.
We are here to tell you stories of murder amongst the real estate community. It might be an agent, it might be a client, it might be an undetected serial killer.
When it comes to real estate crimes, some are predators and some are prey.
We just want to issue a trigger warning. The content of these cases can be difficult to hear from time to time, and please listen with care.
Hey, Sarah.
Hi, Amy.
How are you?
I'm actually really good. How are you?
We're great. I'm great.
Good. What are we doing? What are we doing right now?
Well, we just wanted to get on here and thank everyone for such a great first season. You guys have been incredible. We've had so many listeners. The feedback has been amazing. It's been a really fun ride.
It really has been, and it went so fast. And we are thrilled with all the content we put out, right? And we have, as of now, over 10,000 downloads, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And we didn't really know what to expect, right? This is our first try. We're learning as we go.
I don't think either of us had any expectations.
We didn't, but we had researched and asked around and tried to get kind of a feel for what it should look like. And Real Estate and Murder Season 1 far exceeded those expectations.
Yeah.
So we're really proud and happy.
Yes.
All right.
So we've been reaching out to listeners that we knew personally, but also listeners have been messaging us and asking a few real estate related questions. So we wanted to take the time to kind of address
what the big questions that are out there are, right?
Yeah.
We put out there in one of our episodes earlier on in the season that we would love to answer real estate related questions. You know, the podcast is called Real Estate and Murder, and we're tying in education and information about real estate as well as the true crime part. But surprise, surprise, like we got responses.
Yeah.
So we have some questions to answer.
Yeah.
And we figured we would kind of wrap up season 1 with telling you guys a little bit more about, you know, how we operate as agents and how we discuss things with our clientele, how we dialogue things, and then leave you guys with a couple of notes and surprises to head into season 2, which will debut next month, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get into all those details later, but let's talk about some of these real estate questions, Amy. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. How about that? Because
sounds great.
We have slightly different like followers just by natural like social media and our family ties and friendships, right? And so I know I've got some different questions than you have, but I want to pick your brain.
Okay.
And then you can pick my brain. How's that?
Sounds great.
Okay, so what I'm going to know as we get into, and I think these topics will address it perfectly, but first off, what is like the number one burning real estate question you get all the time? Like what's the most often asked? Yeah, common question.
I think for the last year or so, I think the question is, when is a good time to buy?
That is a never-ending question in real estate, right? Because the markets are constantly moving up and down, their ebb and flow. So what's the answer? When is a good time to buy?
I know, and I'm going to give a typical lawyer answer that we get frustrated with
I plead
lawyers.
the fifth?
No, the answer is it depends.
Okay.
It depends. So I coach my clients and say, well, it depends on when's the best time to buy for you. And I do an analysis. We both have tools that we use that kind of calculates either if they have a mortgage and what rate they're at and where they're at, and if they're wanting to move with their family and expand their house, or if they're renting and the cost of renting versus mortgage. And I give them the numbers and I write down like all this information. We talk to a lender and we get their specific questions and circumstances answered, and then I turn it over to the client because I'm not trying to sell the client on anything. I'm trying to do what is in best interest of my clients.
Sure. I always tell the clients, both buyers and sellers, but I say this frequently. Real estate is always and will always be the woulda, coulda, shoulda game.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I should have bought before 2020. I should have bought in 1980. I should have bought here. I should have bought there. And the fact of the matter is, the real estate market is as unpredictable in some ways as like our commodities market, our stock market.
Yeah.
And you can only do what's best for you at the time with education and an understanding of what your future goals are. Of course, like I'm not telling anyone to blindly invest in stock. I'm saying you evaluate what's good for you at that time and at that moment. But there's always going to be a feeling of woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Or you missed out on an opportunity.
Right. Which at the same time, as you're saying that, there's someone else, across the state or across the country from you saying the same thing, but in the opposite direction. Yeah. Right. So that is a question we do get all the time. When is a good time?
Well, and we both follow economists, attend economic conferences where we both try to educate ourselves and then turn that education into our clients. But nobody can predict, like you said, like the commodities market. Nobody knew that, COVID was going to do what it did, or you know what I'm saying? Like there's all these things that happen within our market and our situation that is unpredictable. Natural disasters in a certain area will deflate an economy. So it's very specific to, here's the numbers that we do know. And you as the consumer can make the decision on what is best. We have to take out the factors that we don't know. And let's just look at this. And then you tell me when you feel good about it or not.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And another thing that I dialogue with my clients, again, whether they're selling or buying, when they ask that question, I'll pitch back like, well, what is your scenario? What's your motivation for moving?
Yeah.
Right. Because that often controls the decision. So if you are, for example, say you're a young family, maybe you have like one child and you're going to be bringing another child or two more children into your family, and you're living in a 1-bedroom condo. You have now physically outgrown the space. Is it the best thing for your family, for your lifestyle, for your well-being to move into a larger home? Or is it a good time to buy according to the market, right? And the reality is, it's what's best for your family. Now, that's just one example. There's plenty of examples. If you've got a great job offer and you have to move across the country in order to take this offer, it's your dream job. Are you going to say no just because the market, if you will, isn't what the news is saying it should be? No, you're going to chase that dream job, or you're going to bring more children into your family. Like those life circumstances are going to happen regardless of the market. And so the question of motivation is a really big factor in my conversations. Yeah. Do you have to move? Yeah, I do. Okay, then who cares? Let's work the numbers so that they make sense for your situation.
Yeah. And honestly, when is a good time to buy? It's when it's right for you. And we can help you with the numbers, or your agent in your market can help you with the numbers. Like, ask those questions of the professional that you're working with and have them show you to get the information that you need to know on when is it a good time to buy.
Yeah, because there's always a solution. And when I say that, I don't mean there's always a right now solution.
Yeah.
But there's always a solution. So
yeah,
just start the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, another question I get all the time.
What is the value of my home?
I knew you could probably guess what this question was. And as agents, we get this in drive-by situations all the time, right? We'll be at the grocery store grabbing mushrooms. Your neighbor walks by. Hey, I had a quick question for you. What's the value of my home? And you're like, let's start at, point one.
Yeah.
Because it isn't that simple of an answer.
Yeah.
Right? But also, I guess, in theory, it isn't that complicated of an answer either, right?
Yeah.
So tell me what your thoughts are, and then I'll kind of explain what I mean by that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, every home is different, and there's ways that we utilize tools to assess value and take what we call comparables, and to know what if a person has done remodeling or upgrades to a home and different things like that we kind of bring in specifics. And I don't know, we just have a lot of tools to help us, but usually in the moment, it's not an answer that we can answer like right this second, instantaneous. It usually is like, give me an hour and we'll figure this out and we'll collect some data and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, because it could be a quick answer if you use certain tools that are available to your everyday consumer that will estimate for you what your value is, right?
So everybody has their own estimations.
Yeah.
Like every website you go on, here's the value of your house.
Right.
Is it accurate? No, not really.
Well,
not 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it can't be 100%. You're right. Because you're talking to a computer and you're asking for an equation, right? And there isn't the ability to search the actual facts and data that we as licensed agents are able to see to actually evaluate. So if you're looking for a quick answer, you could get it, but is it going to be accurate? The odds are that it's not going to be your best bet.
It'll be a best guess.
It'll be a best guess. Exactly. It's a great way to put it. So when you have this actual question that you really need answered for whatever the reason may be, or just curiosity, I guess, but it really is critical to reach out to an agent that you trust that will spend the time to work with you on that. If you get an answer that's too quick, then you've just done an equation.
Yes.
And that is not going to be like actual directional real estate advice, right? That's just a number.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting one that we get a lot. Now, when I say it's complicated but also simple, you mentioned that we use comparables or comparables, kind of say either way. And that's how we help determine the value of a home as a real estate agent. And it really is as simple as finding the closest comparable home to the subject property that you're looking at, right?
Yeah, but we all know that even if you are in like an area where there's what's called tract homes, where a builder comes in and builds like very cookie cutter homes, not every home is valued the exact same because every property has some unique things to the property that would make it a little worth more or less than maybe your neighbor.
Well, and that's why you can't just base your home's value on your neighbor.
Yeah.
There are other factors. And as real estate agents, we have to step back and look at the information as a whole, but we can't just compare, side by side physical location. We have to add other factors in sometimes.
Yeah. And unfortunately for our clients, I know a lot of clients are like, oh, but I love this neighborhood. I love this landscaping. I love what we did here in this bathroom remodel. And unfortunately, those type of things, the love that you have for something doesn't necessarily add the value that one person might think it might add.
Yeah, like you might love the landscaping that you worked very hard to put in your home, and your neighbor might think your landscaping looks like crap.
Yeah.
Right? Like there is a kind of unknown of like what do other people see value in also as your subject property. But, we look for the closest similarities in other properties that are in the surrounding areas. And if we have to expand those areas or we have to expand time ranges, then we have to work outward kind of. And when I say it's complicated as well as easy, complicated part gets to be when we can't find good comparables, either because the market is a little slower, so we're not seeing as many sales turnover, so we don't have as much time sensitive data, or you're maybe in a remote area, or you have a very unique property.
I was just going to say uniqueness is what we run into the most. I feel like me and you.
For sure. Like you love Italian marble. So you ordered it hand carved out of a mountainside in Italy, and you think your property's worth $1.5 million. Well, we've got to find a comparable property that has similar aesthetic value in it.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
But either way, the answer really comes from a professional that will sit down and work through that research with you. And Amy, you and I are both available through our socials. You can get on our social media. You can send an email to Real Estate and Murder at Amy. What is our email address?
We'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, I had to think that one through. I have a couple. I have like my business one, and then where all my junk coupons go. All right, we'll make sure that our email contact is in the show notes. But you can reach out to a trusted professional that will work through that research with you and explain. And we are both accessible for that kind of information. Yeah. Practice makes good agents, right?
Exactly.
So we like the opportunity to practice. Yeah. Okay, what other questions have we had?
So Sarah, I wanted to ask you, because in the market that we're experiencing and what is happening within the U.S. right now, what are some roadblocks that your clients feel like they can't overcome right now?
That is a great question. I think one of the biggest roadblocks that we're seeing is people, meaning consumers, I'll say consumers, concern about their ability to qualify for a home.
Yeah.
Okay, everyone knows it's kind of common dialogue out there that interest rates are high. And interest rates are high not just in real estate lending, they're high in all types of lending. Credit card debt is at an astronomical all-time high.
Yeah, well, our national debt, just all of this stuff.
It. Yeah. Interest rates are at a high. And, we could have an entire other podcast about the economics of that. But this one, we're talking about real estate and true crime. But the consumer, the average consumer, I'll say, I get a lot of questions about, I can't there's no way I can with these interest rates. I just know I can't. And oftentimes it's situational, right? But oftentimes my question back is, well, how do you know?
Yeah, because sometimes they just assume. I think when you come to financial decisions, it's very scary to be so vulnerable. And I feel like that is a roadblock that people don't like. They just assume, like, I was in college, I made some bad financial decisions. I went through a divorce. I just think, it just wrecked. Yeah, like whatever the scenario is for that person, I feel like the vulnerability makes them automatically say, I don't qualify.
Yeah. I get that all the time. And I got that question or that concern even before the market that we're in right now.
I feel like the whole time we've been agents.
Exactly.
People have had this concern.
Exactly. So it's a very valid concern in today's market right now, but it spans across all markets really, because it is the consumer vulnerability, like you said, and fear and concern. Look, everyone had a credit card in college that they shouldn't have had. Or, a lot of people have had job changes, situational changes, medical issues that came up and took 10 years out of their job history, familial situations. Like there's a dime a dozen situations in which our financial lives can be impacted as human beings.
Yeah.
And also, I'll just throw this in there. If you as a consumer are doing the research that is just kind of accepted in our time and age, which is online, right? Google knows everything, doesn't it?
Oh, AI.
Wikipedia is always accurate, isn't it?
ChatGPT told me I wouldn't qualify.
ChatGPT was like, how did you get this computer? So there are online sources that are probably better than others. But I would say if you're just looking at the information generally because you're maybe nervous or afraid to be more vulnerable with the actual question to a real human being, that might hold you back because the answers are not the same for everybody. They're not the same for every situation. And you could be stopping yourself from a huge potential if you're not, again, going to a trusted real estate professional. Now, by real estate professional, I don't just mean a real estate agent, although we play a critical role in the transaction, obviously. But when I get that question, or statement, I don't qualify or I don't think I'll qualify, my suggestion always is, let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
Let me tag in a lender that I work with that I trust, who's willing to have a conversation with you. Our time and consultation is free to you so that we can answer questions before you then make a decision to hire anyone as your actual advisor.
Yeah, your representative.
Your representative. But conversation is always accessible.
Well, and I feel like we both use various lenders that they don't tell the client, oh, well, shame on you. You shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done this. They are like, let's take this information. I'll put together this list. And if it's not right now, this is what we need to do to buy in 3 months or 6 months. I know one of my favorite lenders that I frequently refer my clients to, she's a phenomenal. She'll be like, okay, like, let's work this through. Let's talk about this. This is where you are. This is what this looks like. She has a formula where it's like down to the penny on what, if you have an outstanding credit card balance, like what it needs to be in order to easily qualify for, a home. And I just feel like people need to understand that there's resources out there that will take a situation and say, I know I don't qualify, into actually either yes, you do, or you will in 3 months.
Yeah, a strategic lender is critical.
Yeah.
Because just like real estate agents, not all real estate agents are created equal. Not all lenders are created equal.
Exactly.
Their experience, their knowledge, their desire to take a client from start to finish, that could all be variables. And so, we refer clients to lenders or other preferred professionals that we really do trust. However, one size doesn't fit all. And you as a consumer are free to discuss your scenario with, whomever you're comfortable with, and then decide out of that pool of people, these are who I want to work with.
Well, even personality type.
Exactly.
Even personality, you're like, oh, I don't vibe with this person. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Let's find someone who you do vibe with.
Absolutely true. And I just had a thought come to me. You mentioned vulnerability for the consumer, which is a huge factor. If you think that you have something embarrassing in your financial history, whether it's a low credit score or what you think is a low credit score, or, a bankruptcy in the past that maybe you're embarrassed about, or a divorce that got ugly, or whatever the scenario is, right? A business that went wrong. Whatever you think is embarrassing, guaranteed a lender has seen it and seen worse.
Yeah.
Okay, guaranteed. And they're just processing information and then talking to you as a consumer. They're not judging you.
No, yeah.
They're not talking about you once they clock out. Like, nobody's taking your file home and like, oh my gosh, look at this. This person invested in their idea right here and it totally flopped. Can you believe it? No.
Yeah. They're
evaluating a situation and advising you on how to fit into that situation or work through it. Right?
Yeah. I think the strategic lending and the strategic lenders always work through the situation and not just say, well, sorry, you're right. Can't help you.
100%. And if you do get that answer,
you're seeing the wrong person.
Yeah, that should be an immediate sign that you need to talk to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So also, quick question for you. Let's talk about qualification and this common conversation that's out there right now. The interest rates are too high, right?
Yeah.
Interest rates anywhere. I'm not going to quote a number on here because by the time we finish recording, they could change.
Yeah, okay. They always do.
But, they're in a position that is definitely higher than they were a few years ago. We'll say it like that.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Amy.
Okay.
Let's throw out an example sake, okay? Just that'll make this make more sense. Let's say you're kind of, again, average consumer qualifies for like a 6.5% interest rate percent right now, 6.5%, okay? When is like the last time you looked at like a credit card application, for example, or received a credit card offer in the mail? You've got to get them all the time. I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on a list that was like, I don't advertise, so I don't think I get them as often as.
Okay, you're no fun. Okay.
I know, I'm so sorry.
Okay, so.
But I can imagine. Do you want me to pretend?
So we'll swap it around.
Okay.
So I recently changed addresses. I was recently my own buyer. That's a whole nother podcast. However, I'm getting a lot of new mail. Okay. I see credit card offers, and sometimes they trick you, right? Okay, I'm not saying I read them all, but I'm saying they trick you like, emergency, please open. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, or it feels like it's like an actual check in the mail because it looks like you're receiving something.
So I fall for it. Okay. The average APR, so the average interest rate on a credit card right now, you want to give a guess?
I have no, like 14%. Is it higher than that?
Amy.
I'm so sorry.
Amy Marie Brockbank, get out of this room. I'm going to blow your mind right now.
Yeah.
I saw one yesterday, 36.99. I'm not kidding. The average APR right now is anywhere from 27 to 32% for credit card debt. Okay. And credit card debt in America right now is at an all-time high.
Yeah.
Everyone's pretty aware, I guess in the adult world, I should say, that the economy has become very challenging in the last few years. COVID threw a ringer into the world that nobody saw coming. And I think we're still paying for some of those after effects. And a part of it is the struggle with the economy, right? So people are loading credit card debt on.
Well, everything is so expensive. You go to the grocery store and eggs are like $9.
Absolutely. Have you looked at the price of a new vehicle lately? $50,000 for your
sedan.
Yeah, your entry level vehicle. Granted, a mortgage is going to carry a higher balance, right?
Yeah, well, it's over a 30-year period too.
Exactly. You're loaning yourself that amount of money over a 30-year period. And at what interest rate? Now, in example's sake. So what interest rate did I quote?
6.5.
Just for an example's sake. 6.5% over 30 years. As opposed to short-term credit card debt that you get hit with 30, 35, 36% APR every rolling 30 days.
Yeah.
So what are a lot of lenders doing for their clients right now? This conversation I've been having a lot with buyers lately.
Yeah, lenders will take, so let's say you're in a house for, 2.9% because you bought when the market was low or you refinanced or whatever. lenders are taking your monthly expenses that you're spending on, whether it's vehicles, loans, personal loans, credit cards, debt. Whatever it is that you say, and they take that and they say, you're paying this amount a month coming out of your budget. But if you change to a house that's even like upgraded or equal value, like whatever your situation is, you can use your equity in your house to pay off that stuff. Or there's a lot of the creative financing without it being, when I say creative financing, I know people are automatically going to think like 2009, 2010, like
not that kind of creative.
No, we're not.
That was bad creative.
Yeah. No, this is like good strategic financing, but your actual payments leaving your household are actually lower than they are where you're currently at with a lower interest rate. And I'm not sure if that made sense the way I said it.
It makes sense because we talk about it all the time. So let's use some numbers for example's sake. Okay, let's just say Joe and Betty own their house and they've had it for a couple of years. They bought at the peak of the buying market when interest rates were low because of the COVID sort of effect.
Yeah.
Okay. And their house payment, we're just going to use round numbers, you guys, for example's sake. Their house payment is $2,000 a month.
Okay.
I wish, but let's just say. Then they have their car loan on top of it for $500 a month. Then they're carrying $1,500 a month in credit card debt at a 30 or 35% APR. That's adding a couple $100 a month to their balance.
Yes,
right?
We're at $5,000 right now.
Okay, we're at $5,000.
Or $4,000, sorry.
It's fine, guys. We know math. We're at $4,000 and we haven't even gone to Costco. We haven't filled up our gas tanks. We haven't bought school clothes, okay? So we're talking $4,000 for just 4 walls and a vehicle and your credit card debt.
Credit card debt, yeah.
Now, this part of this strategy that we're talking about is, again, loaning yourself a large amount of money over a long period of time for a much lower interest rate. So there is a possibility, and again, one size doesn't fit all, so this situation might not work for everybody, but there is a lot of potential opportunity for Joe and Betty to sell their home.
Or refinance, because you can refinance and take your equity out and refinance it for like a higher loan amount if you've got your equity.
Sure, there's multiple ways to do it. The potential that I'm sharing is about selling, using that equity, paying off that debt. And sure, now you're in a home that has a higher mortgage every month because appreciation has occurred and home values are higher, but your home payment is $3,000.
Yeah. Or even that, $3,500, you're still saving $500 a month because all of your other expenses were taken off.
Yes, because your equity paid all of your debt off.
Yeah.
And you have a different new house, hopefully something that you like better, right?
Yeah.
Or the same, even the same. And your monthly expenses are now significantly lower, but you still own a home. How's that for amazing?
Yeah. And I will say neither Sarah nor I are licensed to do lending, but we are just basing, this is the conversations that we've had with lenders and the strategic meetings we've had with our clients with lenders to help reevaluate their situations.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Our lane is the real estate transaction.
Yes.
But we are a part of that conversation oftentimes, even sometimes just for comfort or for pitching ideas back and forth.
Exactly.
Right? And we're definitely not lenders. There's a whole other world out there in the financial, lending space that's fascinating, but we're not in that world. We stay in our own lane as real estate agents that help transact in real estate. But that is an excellent real-time example. Again, we used round numbers. We're using rounded interest rates just for example's sake. But that's a real life scenario we're getting all the time. So tying all the way back to the original question, which I don't qualify, or I don't think I qualify. Well, maybe you do.
Yeah.
And let's have a conversation about it.
Let's find out. Let's find out for sure that you don't qualify.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or what would it take to qualify?
Yeah. What's the game plan? What's the marks that I need to have over the next 12 months to get to that place?
Yeah.
And with the right team, you'll get the right answer.
Oh, exactly.
I promise.
Okay, so last roadblock that I know we always come up with a lot of roadblocks, but last roadblock that you frequently get hit with the client has.
Yeah, and we did get asked this question.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, or statement, either way, I don't have a down payment. I can't buy a house. I don't have a down payment.
Yeah. Well, because 10%, 3%, 25%, like that just seems outrageous with the price of homes right now. Like what is the correct down payment amount, and what do people need to have?
Yeah,
or do they need to have anything?
There's a common belief out there in consumer land. They have to have 20% down to buy a house. And I'll tell you, a significant chunk of the buying pool doesn't have anywhere near 20% to put down on a house.
Yeah.
And if they do, they don't have to spend 20% to get the home purchased.
Yeah.
So the answer to that question is, there's several scenarios, right? There are multiple zero down loan programs that are available to buyers. Now, we can only speak about our Utah market. So there are loan programs all across the country that I'm not familiar with and have never heard of. However, I do know how to ask the right questions.
Yes.
And when you, again, open up that conversation about qualification, you get in touch with a lender, and we can connect you with lenders that we trust. We can have these conversations and dialogue with you because we get this all the time.
Yeah.
But we can talk about low down payment programs, zero down payment programs, or what we call sometimes payment assistance down payment programs. There's multiple options out there. I think most people have heard of FHA.
Yeah.
Okay, quick question. Let's derail real fast. Amy, does FHA stand for first time homebuyer loan?
I mean, no, it doesn't. Anybody can be an FHA.
Like buyer, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to, there are certain qualifications. You can't have purchased a home and used an FHA loan in the last 3 years. However, common misconception is that FHA means first time home buyer.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. You can use FHA financing in multiple scenarios and situations in your life. Not within the last 3 years, but the answer is no, it doesn't stand for that. However, FHA is an example of a low down payment program, right?
Yeah.
Where you can go as low as a 3% down payment.
Yeah.
Which is very doable in most markets. We don't live in San Francisco. We don't live in New York. I don't know. What's 3% of $10 million,
Yeah, but I mean, Utah, there was a report done that we're like top 5 most expensive states right now. So, I mean, we're close to California and New York and Massachusetts and Hawaii,
we live in a very desirable state.
Yeah, and as big as Utah is, most of our land is owned by the federal government.
It sure is.
The pool of where we can build houses or have houses is, I think they said the size of like West Virginia or something.
So in our gorgeous state of Utah with 5 national parks, we have limited land that we can develop residential real estate on.
Yeah.
Is what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess what we're both trying to get at is there's programs out there that will be consumer or client specific that will work, and a good lender will be able to say, okay, if we do this program, this is what your payment is, and if we do this program, this is what your payment is, or this is what it will look like, or this is, and you have options. People have options, and I don't think that they know that they have options.
Oftentimes they don't.
Yeah.
Utah Housing Corporation has options where you can even loan yourself your down payment. There are so many ways out there to get to the same result, but you have to just be educated about them, right?
Yeah. In a legal, not going to crash the market 2009 way.
That's never going to happen again. That is an impossibility for the market to do exactly what it did back then. And there's so many reasons why. Again, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, it really is.
There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation about there. But that was a very manipulated market that caused a huge crash. But the point is being educated about your current situation and the financial waters that you're in is going to get you where you want to be as long as you're willing to do the work, right?
Yeah. So
those are common questions.
Yeah, I was just going to say, those are kind of the questions that our listeners have reached out and asked, and our clients are currently asking. And so we hope that information has been helpful. And if you guys have any more questions or have a case that you want us to cover, reach out and let us know. We're happy to be the source of the information.
Yeah, and you can, again, find us on our socials. You can email us at whatever our email is. It's going to be in our show notes.
Yeah.
Amy knows I can't remember it. But we're accessible several different ways. So you can reach out with your questions. These were excellent questions we got from our consumers, our listeners, and we hope to continue to get more of them that are even more interesting and more complex. And it's been really fun to talk about real estate tied into true crime, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what's coming up next then in our true crime conversations, heading into season 2.
Yes, which is going to drop on Friday, the 13th of September.
Okay, I was going to say the 13th of what?
Yeah.
September, Friday 13th. That's not right. Hold on. That sounded weird. It's right, but Friday the 13th, September 2024.
Yeah,
is that right?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll make it up.
Okay. Well, it's a real date,
It's
though.
a real date.
Friday the 13th
however
will
you
be
say it. Yeah.
season 2 debut of Real Estate and Murder.
Yes.
And we're going to do things a little bit differently in season 2. We're going to publish our content a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
We really wanted to get our season 1 material and content out there to our listeners, to consumers. Also, so that we can start to engage with other people in our professional realm, companies that want to sponsor, companies that want to be a part of Real Estate and Murder. And we were able to take season 1, collect that information, and now present it in a way that people are actually really excited about in our real estate professional realm, in our industry, and, have actual sponsors that are excited about the project we're working on.
Exactly.
Which is exciting. So we put season 1 out. We're going to start season 2. And we're going to talk about some wacky stuff.
I'm so excited for what we have coming for season 2.
Okay, so we have more episodes coming out where there is a real estate agent that is the murderer, right?
Yes.
We have more episodes coming out where the real estate agent is murdered, right?
Yes.
We have other professionals in the real estate world that are murdered, lenders, appraisers.
Yeah, we have guests coming on that's going to give their expert advice. So if you guys have questions, we can cater those questions to our guests. We even did an episode about a haunted house, I guess, a mansion, a haunted mansion.
That's it, just the haunted house, famous real estate that is haunted and associated with murders. There's all kinds of exciting content coming out in season 2. I'm really excited. Some of those cases are just, my favorite one actually is coming out in season 2.
I love it.
I thought a bunch of them in season 1 were my favorite. Season 2, can't wait. We have guests that are actually rubbed shoulders with some of the subjects.
Yes, the victim and a killer.
Yeah, who are all involved in real estate.
Right? Crazy, you guys, crazy. We're so excited.
Amy, this has been a wild ride. It's been so fun. We've learned so much.
We have, but we couldn't have done it without our listeners. You guys have been our true fans. You guys have helped propel us from what we just, took as an idea and kind of a hobby and has turned it into something that we look forward to every week to being in the podcast studio.
Yeah, and that we're really proud of.
Yeah.
So, and you and I both received personal texts, personal messages saying, I love this episode. Thank you so much. I've had people reach out, and so have you, saying, here's my theory on the case.
Yeah.
Here's what I think happened. And there's even a couple conversations I've had with a listener like that where I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. That sounds like the perfect answer.
We've thought about doing follow-up content or whatever when we're hey, here's a new theory. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we talk it all the way through, and then there's still 100 other scenarios when it's unsolved, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's been so much information that we've been able to cultivate into this awesome topic that is the crossover of real estate and true crime.
Yeah.
Also, we could not have gotten where we are. We could not have put out the material we did without our amazing editor, Danny Gonzalez.
Who is having a birthday this weekend. We'll do a shout out to him.
It is his birthday. And he made sure that we knew it was his birthday this weekend and that he was going to be OOO. Amy, what is OOO?
Out of office. We had no idea.
I had no idea. He sends us this message. I'm going to be OOO. And I was like,
ooh.
Is everything okay? So happy birthday, Danny. Thank you for getting us to where we were. Your creativity and your brilliance. You've been an amazing part of what we've done here. So.
Yeah. So thanks, guys.
Hey,
and
really quick, let's not forget. So we are not debuting season 2 until September 13th, which is a Friday.
Yes.
However, we're not going to leave you alone.
For 5 weeks.
No way. We will still be dropping content here and there throughout the next month while we prepare for season 2. So we're going to be dropping in shorter conversations, whether they're real estate related, crime related. Maybe there will be an awesome crime update that we can give. Todd Holub is still talking in prison. That guy can't shut up. So we're going to be dropping bits of content here and throughout. So please follow, still listen, still send in your questions. We'll be having conversations, publishing them and putting them out there, but we will officially debut season 2 on Friday, September 13th.
Yes.
Okay. All right, everybody. That's a wrap.
It is.
Bye, Amy.
Bye, Sarah.